Hey, good morning. How does this work? There we go. Just to go through some of our highlights, excuse me, for the past year. We came to this meeting a year ago. We said we would be refurbishing Bibiani process plant, getting the mine going, and we would be pouring gold by the third quarter. We actually poured gold on July 7th this year. July, we printed about, let me think, at Bibiani, in around 7,000 ounces. August was a little over 7. This month we're targeting 10. So Bibiani is on its way. It's working up the curve of getting the mill running the way we want it to run. I think last month we had about 89% availability, about 84% recovery, and everything's going the way we'd like it to go. The plant was refurbished to be robust. From a bolts up, it wasn't a 20-gallon overhaul. Around, I guess, April this year, we made a deal to take out Chirano. That's now in the group, and so this month we'll be shipping about 23,000 ounces. And the look forward for the company is Bibiani's on a run to produce about 230 to 250,000 ounces for the next 8 years. Chirano has a life of mine planned for 5 years, and with some of the business improvement initiatives we'll be taking, we see Chirano getting out to about 10 years. We'll be drilling at Chirano and Bibiani about $5 million at each site, so that works out to about 30,000 meters per year for the next 3 years. Again, to get our reserve out past a 10-year life of mine, and to keep our ounce profile up above 400,000 ounces per year. This is an interesting slide. It's always been interesting to us and to investors that 46% of the company is held in some form in Ghana, either with high net worth investors or with Ghanaian institutional investors. So when we start talking about ESG, this is a pretty important milestone for us to achieve. And certainly what we've found in Ghana is people like to buy our stock. They don't necessarily want to sell it, so it's pretty tightly held. As I mentioned, it's been a pretty busy year. We've had a lot of fun, and I think one of the comments that people make about us is we don't play. We have delivered a little bit more than what we committed to, and that's how we intend to proceed going forward. About a year ago, a little more than a year and a half ago, we were selling at 8 cents, and I think today we're at about $1. A little bit of gold price help would get us back up where we'd like to be. So in terms of our management team, John joined us in January this year as our CFO. John and I have worked together previously at Namdini Mine. Great business partner for me, and just to restate what I've told a lot of our investors, I don't make a money decision in this company without John saying, Dave, we can make that work. Fred joined in April. Fred is well known in Ghana in the African mining space as a mining executive, and ultimately he's the principal part of our succession plan. I won't be standing here forever, and look forward to getting Fred ready for the chair in the not too distant future. So then the board of directors, I think most people are familiar with. We haven't had substantive changes this year. Mohammed Al Othman and Alexander Smirnov joined the board in December of last year. So I think most people are familiar with gold right across the Ghanaian space. Generally speaking, it's not refractory. Gold occurs with a high degree of gravity recoverable gold. In both cases at Chirano and Bibiani, we have about 30% of our gold reports to gravity. Chirano at this point does not have a gravity plant. We'll be installing one. And Chirano also doesn't have oxygen being put into its leach tank, so we'll be installing that as well. Those are principal initiatives to be taken over the next 4 or 5 months to get Chirano recovery from 86% up to over 92%. So when we talk about the Chirano acquisition, I think most people in the room are going to be familiar with this, but the cost of the acquisition was $225 million. Up front, there was $60 million in cash, another $36 million in shares, and then we have deferred consideration over the next 2 years. When we take a look at Chirano, this is pretty exciting to us because it presents some immediate opportunity to improve ounce production. Right now, the planned production rate for Toronto is 150,000 ounces a year. We see ourselves getting to 200,000 ounces a year by the second quarter next year. And that's going to be based on some of the process plant improvements that I mentioned, but also taking old mines out of service, expanding existing open pit mines, bringing new mines underground into service, and bringing forward open pit mines. Ultimately, we're working to increase mill throughput from 3.2 million tons per year to 4 million tons per year and improve grade by about 0.3 grams per ton. So if we take a look at the Toronto production history, it's been a long-term producer. It was actually producing since 2005 with Redback and with Kinross since 2010. So you can see here the last, sorry, I don't know how to make that go back anymore. But anyway, the which button?
The red one.
The red one. The other red one. Okay, never mind. So just again in the process plant, we'll increase gravity recovery by a substantial amount. Mine planning, we have some significant mine scheduling changes to make. And what we see ourselves doing over the next year actually is reducing AISC from 1,360 down to 1,100. I mentioned exploration. We are at our DNA an exploration company, so we have a generous exploration analysis coming in for exploration at both sites, about 30,000 meters per year. But beyond that, whenever one of our geologists comes to me and says, Dave, I need more money for this, and here's how I'm going to find more ounces, the answer is never no in this company. Obviously, with two mines 15 kilometers apart, we're building a road between the two mines. It'll become a haul road so that wherever we find ore can go to either mill. The mill flow sheets are very, very similar. And ultimately, right now, we have about 7.4 million tons per year process capacity. In terms of other shared services, there's a very well-endowed tech services team sits on top of both mines. They provide my leadership team with advice on how we want to build the business and also monitor and run the business. Other obvious targets are logistics, HR, sustainability initiatives, safety. So we take a look again on a micro basis. The Toronto forecast has us adding ounces, again getting to a 10-year life of mine and running at a 200,000 ounce per year run rate. I think everybody has seen this photograph, so I won't spend much time on it, but this is where we were a year ago, and we're pretty proud of the progress we're made. For our history of production, this was a 250,000 ounce a year operation, and that's how we are reconfiguring it. And this is where we are about a month ago. So on the left side, you can see the main pit. A big part of the number one cutback has been done. That layback is at about 23 degrees. Okay, and we're already producing ore from the main pit as scheduled. The right side, we've got the Walsh pit. Has turned out to be a fabulous surprise for us, and again, it comes out of our near mine exploration program. When we took the asset last year, we thought we would have about 20,000 ounces coming out of the Walsh satellite pit. We're right now at 110,000 to come out by next March, and it keeps growing as we keep drilling. It's been great. It's actually going to connect with the main pit somewhere south of our south pit extension. So this is a picture taken July 7th, and you can see the process plant on the right side looks significantly different from what it did a year ago. Every gearbox was taken off site, every loop system taken off site, all the valves were replaced. 40% of the structural steel was sandblasted, weld repaired, or replaced as necessary, and the same is said for piping and electrics. The plant got a complete overhaul. We expect it to run better than it did when it was built by Lycopodium in 1999 because it's got a better gravity plant, it's got a better control system, and it's got better oxygen addition. So this is what we see for gold production for the next 8 years. And what's going to be happening at the main pit. You can see the original outline of the pit went to a terminal depth of 150 meters. We're now taking it to 350 meters. We initiated an underground design program about 2 months ago, and we expect to make an underground announcement or underground mining announcement in the second quarter next year. We expect to be producing gold from underground by 2026. So here's where we are in terms of the site development. Walsh Pit, you can see, has got a lot bigger. We think it's going to connect down here with the main pit. South of Russell, we announced about 3 or 4 weeks ago the South Russell extension. We see that becoming a satellite pit. Right now it's 200 meters of mineralization at surface, and it's running between 1.4 and 2.8 grams. So Bibiani continues to grow. Chirano continues to grow. We see excellent prospects for both mines, and obviously with two mines that are close together, there's some great synergies to be had. Regionally, we control most of the ground through associated companies all around Chirano and Bibiani. And we're also bringing ore from Kubi to Bibiani probably late fourth quarter, early first quarter of next year. And I think I have about 3 minutes left. Are there any questions?
No questions from the audience? All right, so, you moved from 0 to 400,000 ounces in a very, very short time. So what advice can you give to people that are looking to grow their production profile, and how'd you do it? Was it the team? Was it just organic? Did you get lucky at all?
We've got great people working for us. Eben Swampole is our project director. Dean Bertram is the GM at Bibiani site. And when you put two high-caliber people on one mine site and say, "Go, boys, go and build something," it can either go very, very well or go very, very badly. Those two guys work really well together. Obviously, I'm proud of them. When we started at Bibiani, one of the aces that we had up our sleeve was the infrastructure was in place and working. Okay, so we didn't have a site establishment issue to overcome. We had transport, logistics, safety, we had security. We were able to mobilize and get to work straight away. So when we told people that we would be pouring gold within 9 or 10 months, it's because we had a detailed project execution plan and we had facilities in place and working. So we haven't had any significant surprises along the way. So I guess that's good luck, it's good planning. But it's also, when you do these things, and I've done a few of them, don't lie to yourself, okay? Quite often we're under pressure to make up a story that we think people would like to hear. I've been around long enough that I've told myself enough lies. I don't do that anymore. So we said what we thought we could do. We made sure we had a solid plan. We made sure we had the resources available, and we delivered the plan.
We have a question from the audience, and well said, by the way. If you wouldn't mind just speaking into the mic so people online could hear.
Dave, great presentation. How does it work with the underground mining voids and the open pit and presumably some old steel and bits and pieces that were underground? How do you deal with that when you turn it into an open pit?
The underground mining works obviously are somewhere below the bottom of the pit, so that's going to be an issue at Cut 4. Okay, we're not even going to get to that for a while, but ultimately what you do, we have them mapped, we know where they are. Okay, it's not like you're flying blind. The other part of the equation is that you can pop those ahead of the mine schedule so that the depressions are basically filled in before you have to go mining on top of them. Mining off of a floor that's anything but level gets to be pain in the ass. So you need to get out in front of your mine program and make sure that those issues are gone away. The mine workings that are there are pretty much a century old. So basically, you don't have a lot of steel. You have a lot of wood or remnants of wood.
And with that, I think we're done. We're out of time. So thank you.
Thank you.